"What is the point?" he would whisper to himself at night, the only light in his room coming from a lantern he himself had made. "I create light, but the darkness is infinite. I light one small path, but the world remains lost. My work, it changes nothing." This feeling grew inside him, a cold, heavy stone in his chest. His life felt like a single, pointless flame in an endless, damp fog. One day, he decided he could not make another lantern. The feeling of pointlessness was too much to bear. He packed a small bag, took one of his lanterns, and walked away from Greyhaven into the deepest part of the mist, not knowing where he was going and not truly caring. He walked for what felt like days. The world was a blur of grey trees and silent stones. His lantern was his only companion, its gentle light keeping the deepest shadows at bay. He grew tired, and his hope, already a tiny ember, was close to fading completely. Finally, he stumbled into a small clearing and saw something he did not expect. An old woman, her face a map of wrinkles, was sitting by a small fire, carefully tending to a single, beautiful flower that glowed with a soft inner light. "You look lost, child," she said, her voice like the rustling of dry leaves. "I am," Cale confessed, sitting down heavily. "I am a lantern maker, but I have forgotten the purpose of light. My efforts are too small to make a difference." The old woman smiled gently. She pointed a frail finger at the glowing flower. "Do you see this bloom?" she asked. "It is called a sun petal. It can only grow in the deepest parts of this mist. Its seeds need the dark to sprout, and its roots need the damp to grow strong." Cale looked at the flower. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "It does not curse the mist," she continued softly. "It does not dream of clearing the entire valley. It does not worry that its light is small. It simply does the one thing it was made to do. It glows. And for any weary traveler who stumbles upon it, like you, its small light is enough. It is everything." Cale stared at the flower, and then at the lantern in his own hand. He had been so focused on the vastness of the mist that he had forgotten the purpose of his own individual flame. His lantern couldn't burn away the entire mist, but it could warm cold hands. It could light the page of a book for a child. It could guide a neighbor safely home on a dark path. It could be a single point of beauty and hope in the gray. His purpose was not to defeat the darkness. His purpose was simply to shine. With a new feeling stirring in his heart, a feeling that was not heavy but warm, Cale thanked the old woman. He turned around and began the long walk back to Greyhaven. When he arrived, the village was the same. The mist was just as thick, but Cale was different. He went to his workshop, and with loving care he built a new lantern. He poured all his new understanding into it. When he lit it, its glow seemed warmer, more hopeful than ever before. He did not just sell the lantern, he gave it to a young mother and showed her how its light made her child's eyes sparkle with wonder. He began to teach the children how to make small, simple candles of their own. He organized evenings where villagers would gather, each with their own lantern, creating a pool of warm golden light where they would share stories and songs. The mist was still there, but the village was no longer just gray. It was now dotted with 100 tiny, beautiful, and deeply meaningful lights. Cale had found his purpose, not in changing the world, but in bringing his unique light to his small corner of it. Your life, too, is a light. Perhaps you feel that the world is too big, too dark, and your own light is too small to matter. Perhaps you feel the mist all around you. But your light was never meant to burn away the entire ocean of darkness. It is meant to warm the person next to you. It is meant to guide your own 2 feet on the path ahead. It is meant to be a beacon of your own unique, unrepeatable existence. Your kindness, your smile, your effort, your very breath, they are a glow. They matter. You matter. So tonight, let go of the need to light up the whole world. Just tend to your own gentle flame. Let it fill you with warmth. The world is a little brighter simply because you are in it. Now, rest. Let the story settle in your soul. Let the river of your breath flow gently in and out. There is a new dawn waiting for you, full of moments for your light to shine. Sleep now. Sleep well.
Have you ever laid awake at night, staring into the darkness, and felt a profound emptiness? A quiet ache in your soul that whispers, "What is this all for?" Have you ever felt like a ship adrift on a vast starless ocean with no land in sight? If that voice, that feeling is familiar to you, then this story is a message in a bottle sent across that ocean just for you. There is no need to do anything now. Simply rest. Let your body grow heavy and your mind grow still. Breathe in and out. And let me tell you the story of a man who forgot the sun. In a valley nestled between ancient sleeping mountains, there was a village called Greyhaven. It was not a sad place, but it was a quiet one. The sun was a distant memory, a legend told in old books, for the valley was perpetually covered by a thick, silver mist. The people of Greyhaven were born in the mist. They lived in the mist, and they knew nothing else. In this village lived a young man named KL. He was a lantern maker. Every day he would sit in his workshop, carefully crafting beautiful lanterns from wood and paper. His hands were skilled, and his lanterns were the best in the valley. They cast a warm golden glow that pushed back the grey mist for a few precious feet. Yet KL's heart was heavy. Every morning he would wake up, light a lantern, and see the same endless grey. He would build another lantern, sell it to a villager, and they would thank him for his light. But as soon as they walked away, their small glow would be swallowed by the immense, indifferent mist. Have you ever felt like your efforts are just a drop in the ocean? A single, quiet note in a deafening world? Have you ever looked back on your day, or your week, or even your year, and wondered, did any of that truly matter? If this feeling is a familiar visitor in the quiet hours of the night, then allow this story to be a gentle companion. There is nothing you need to do, nothing to fix. Simply be here. Let your body become heavy, your limbs relax, and your mind drift. Breathe in and let go. Come with me to the edge of the world, to a place known as the Silent Shore. On this shore, where the land meets the great silent sea, lived an old man named Elias. For as long as he could remember, and for as long as his father and his grandfather could remember before him, His family had a single sacred duty. From the first light of dawn until the last ray of dusk, Elias was a stone skipper. His task was to find the smoothest, flattest stones, and with a practiced, graceful flick of his wrist, send them skipping across the silent water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each skip creating a perfect, expanding ripple that was the only thing to ever disturb the sea's profound stillness. In his youth, Elias found joy in the task. He loved the satisfying plink of the stone, the beauty of the concentric rings spreading across the water, the challenge of finding the perfect stone for a 7-skip throw. But as the years turned to decades, the joy faded, and a quiet ache grew in its place. He would watch each perfect ripple spread out and then vanish, leaving the sea exactly as it was before, unchanged, indifferent. He had thrown hundreds of thousands of stones. He had created millions of ripples. And for what? The sea was no different. The world was no different. "My entire life," he whispered one evening to the rising moon, his voice raspy with despair, "has been spent making patterns that disappear. I have left no mark. My existence has been pointless." The weight of this feeling was heavier than any stone he had ever held. And so the next morning, for the first time in generations, Elias did not go to the shore. He stayed in his small cottage, the silence from the sea feeling heavier than ever before. A strange thing happened that day. As the sun set, the familiar gentle hum of the world seemed to fade. The night that followed was darker than any Elias had ever known. He looked out his window, up at the sky, and his breath caught in his throat. The sky was empty. There were no stars. A profound and terrible silence had fallen over the world. Frightened, Elias ran down to the shore. There, sitting on his stone, was a figure made of soft, shimmering light, like a constellation given human form. "Why did you stop?" the being asked, its voice sounding like the chime of distant bells. "Because my work is pointless," Elias cried out, the words tumbling from him. "The ripples always vanish. Nothing ever changes." The star being looked at him with gentle, shining eyes. "You think the ripples vanish? Oh no, you misunderstand your purpose." The being gestured out at the vast, dark water. It explained that this was no ordinary sea. It was the sea of tranquility, and every stone you skip is not just a stone. It is a moment of effort, a quiet prayer, a gentle hope, a small act of love sent out into the world with no expectation of return. "The ripples," the being continued, its voice full of wonder, "are the energy of that intention. They do not vanish. The sea absorbs them. It gathers them, and at night it lifts them up into the great expanse." The star being raised his hand, and with a gentle flick of his wrist, he sent an imaginary stone skipping across the water. A ripple of light spread from the shore, and as it faded, a single brilliant star bloomed in the empty sky above. "It lifts them up," the being repeated softly, "to become the lights that guide the lost, the lights that inspire dreamers, the lights that comfort the lonely. Your pointless ripples, Elias, are what hold the darkness at bay. You are not a stone skipper. You are a star lighter. Elias looked from the single shining star to the infinite sea, to the countless stones at his feet. His life's work was not gone. It was not forgotten. It was written across the canvas of the cosmos. Every single stone had mattered. The next morning, Elias returned to the shore. He picked up a stone, feeling its smoothness, its weight, its potential. And when he threw it, he did so not with a sense of duty, but with a heart full of love and purpose. He watched the ripples spread, knowing they were not endings, but beginnings. Your small, quiet acts of kindness, the gentle word, the patient ear, the task you complete with care, they may feel like ripples that vanish into a vast and indifferent sea. They do not. Nothing is ever lost. Every bit of good you put out into the world is gathered. It becomes the light in someone else's darkness. It becomes the hope in a stranger's heart. It becomes a star in the great shared sky of humanity. Your life is not pointless. Your efforts are not in vain. You are a lighter of stars. So now let go of the need to see the impact of every ripple. Trust that they are being woven into a beautiful tapestry you cannot yet see. Feel like a loop? The same sun rises. The same path is walked. The same tasks are done. A constant, steady ticking. But to what end? Do you ever lie down at the end of the day and feel that you've simply wound the clock of your life just to watch it unwind in the exact same way tomorrow? If this feeling is a weight upon your heart tonight, let it go. You don't need to carry it anymore. There is no need to solve anything. Your only task now is to rest, to allow the rhythm of your own breath to be the only clock you need. Breathe in and feel the quiet stillness. Breathe out and let the day dissolve. Let me tell you about a city called Ethelberg and a man who believed his work had lost all meaning. The city of Ethelberg was a place outside of time. It was always twilight, a gentle dance between the memory of the sun and the promise of the moon. The people of Ethelberg did not rush. They did not have appointments or deadlines. They simply were. In the heart of this timeless city was a small dusty shop filled with the most magnificent clocks. And in this shop lived Alistair, the last clockmaker. His hands were masters of their craft. He built clocks with faces of pearl and hands of polished silver. He crafted gears so fine they seemed to be spun from moonlight. And from his workshop came the only sounds that measured anything in Ethelberg, the gentle rhythmic ticking and the soft melodic chimes that would ring out from his masterwork, the grand clock in the city square. But Alistair's heart was filled with a quiet sadness. What is the use of a clock in a city that does not care for time? He would often wonder. He would watch from his window as people meandered by, never once looking up at the grand clock to check the hour. He would sell a beautiful mantel clock to a family, only to know they bought it for its beauty, not its function. His life's work, this precise and meaningful art of keeping time, felt like a joke, a beautiful, intricate, and utterly pointless endeavor. The steady tick-tock of his own creations began to sound like a mockery, a countdown to nothing. One day, the feeling became unbearable. Alistair walked through his shop, and one by one he gently stopped the pendulums. He silenced the chimes. He covered each clock face with a soft velvet cloth. Finally, he closed his shop, locked the door, and for the first time in his life, his world fell completely silent. That night, Ethelberg was different. The perpetual twilight seemed a little darker, a little colder. A strange restlessness settled over the city. Babies who usually slept soundly were fussy. The baker in his shop found his hands unable to find their familiar rhythm in the dough. A poet staring at a blank page felt a profound and unsettling stillness. In his own quiet room, Alistair was visited. It was not a person, but a gentle presence, a shimmering form made of soft, swirling light. It did not speak with a voice, but with a feeling that bloomed directly in Alistair's heart. "You have stopped the heartbeat," the feeling said. The presence showed Alistair a vision. He saw a young mother rocking her crying child. She was humming a lullaby, but it was off-key, frantic. Then the memory of a sound entered the vision, the soft, steady tick-tock from the clock on her mantel. The mother instinctively matched her rocking to the rhythm. Her humming slowed, and the baby, soothed by the predictable, gentle beat, drifted off to sleep. The vision shifted. He saw the baker alone in the early hours. The silence of the night was heavy, lonely. But then the vision remembered the sound of the grand clock's chimes, a deep, resonant bell that would ring through the city. The baker would always smile when he heard it, a comforting, reliable friend in his solitude. It was the sound that told him he was part of something larger. He saw the poet, the scholar, the weaver, the lonely old man. He saw how the gentle, unnoticed ticking of his clocks was the canvas upon which they lived their lives. It was the rhythm of peace, the sound of stability, the quiet, constant promise that even in a timeless city, life moved forward with a gentle, dependable grace. Alistair finally understood. His purpose was never to tell people the time. It was to give them rhythm, to provide the steady, unconscious heartbeat of their home, their city, their lives. His work wasn't pointless. It was so fundamental, so deeply woven into the fabric of Ethelberg that no one even noticed it. They simply lived within its peaceful embrace. With tears of gratitude on his face, Alistair went back to his workshop. Reverently, he took the velvet cloths off each clock. He wound them with care, and he set their pendulums swinging, one by one. Tick-tock, tick-tock. It was no longer the sound of meaningless repetition. It was the sound of purpose. It was the sound of peace. It was a lullaby for an entire city. The small, repetitive things you do, the meal you prepare, the work you complete, the bed you make, the kindness you offer, may feel like a pointless loop. You may believe they go unnoticed, that they leave no mark. But they are the heartbeat of your world. They are the steady, dependable rhythm that brings comfort and stability to you and to others in ways you may never ever see. Your quiet consistency is a lullaby. Your gentle presence is a source of peace. You do not need to make a grand gesture to have a purpose. Your purpose is already here in the steady, gentle rhythm of your own being. So now, let go. Release the need for applause. Release the need for proof. Simply be. Listen to the quiet, perfect rhythm of your own breath.
Have you ever felt incomplete?
like a story with a missing chapter, or a map with vast empty spaces where there should be mountains and rivers. Do you ever look at the life you have lived and feel that the most important parts are the ones that are still unwritten, and you worry you will never find the words or the way? If this feeling visits you in the quiet of the night, there is no need to fight it. Let it be. Let all the questions and the uncertainties soften and fade. Your only journey tonight is into the gentle landscape of your own rest. Breathe in and let the borders of your day dissolve. Breathe out and release the need to know the way. Come with me to the great library of Athenaeum, and let me tell you of a man named Finnian, whose life's work was to chart the world. Finnian was the chief cartographer of the known world. For his entire life, he had studied the ancient charts and listened to the tales of sailors and travelers. With ink and parchment, he gave the world its shape. He drew the jagged teeth of the Dragon's Tooth Mountains, the gentle curve of the Whispering Bay, the dense, winding paths of the Elderwood. His maps were masterpieces of detail and accuracy. But for all the lands he had charted, there was one area that remained a mystery. On every map, to the far east, beyond the final mountains, there was only a vast, empty space. It was known simply as the unwritten lands. This blank space on his maps became an obsession for Finnian. As he grew older, it began to feel less like a challenge and more like a personal failure. His life's work felt incomplete, a beautiful frame around an empty canvas. "What is the point of a map that is not finished?" he would murmur to himself late at night, staring at the empty parchment. "My life has been spent drawing the edges of things, but I have never discovered the center. My work and my life are incomplete." The weight of what was missing became so heavy that he could no longer find joy in what was there. The beautiful, detailed lands he had spent a lifetime drawing now seemed small and insignificant compared to the vast, mocking emptiness of the unwritten lands. Finally, with a heavy heart, he decided he must retire. His work was a failure, and he could not bear to look at his incomplete maps any longer. He packed his inks and quills away, and for the first time, the great mapping table in the library stood empty. That night, as Finnian slept, he had a dream. In the dream, he was standing not in the library, but on the very edge of his own most detailed map, at the easternmost peak of the Dragon's Tooth Mountains. Before him was a vast, shimmering curtain of mist. This was the border to the unwritten lands. A gentle figure made of soft light and swirling colors like ink in water appeared beside him. "You feel your work is a failure because you have not charted this place," the figure said, its voice like the rustle of old parchment. "Yes," Finnian replied, his dream self full of the same waking sorrow. "A mapmaker who cannot finish the map is no mapmaker at all." Have you ever felt incomplete? Like a story with a missing chapter, or a map with vast empty spaces where there should be mountains and rivers? Do you ever look at the life you have lived and feel that the most important parts are the ones that are still unwritten, and you worry you will never find the words or the way? If this feeling visits you in the quiet of the night, there is no need to fight it. Let it be. Let all the questions and the uncertainties soften and fade. Your only journey tonight is into the gentle landscape of your own rest. Breathe in and let the borders of your day dissolve. Breathe out and release the need to know the way. Come with me to the great library of Athenaeum, and let me tell you of a man named Finnian, whose life's work was to chart the world. Finnian was the chief cartographer of the known world. For his entire life, he had studied the ancient charts and listened to the tales of sailors and travelers. With ink and parchment, he gave the world its shape. He drew the jagged teeth of the Dragon's Tooth Mountains, the gentle curve of the Whispering Bay, the dense, winding paths of the Elderwood. His maps were masterpieces of detail and accuracy. But for all the lands he had charted, there was one area that remained a mystery. On every map, to the far east, beyond the final mountains, there was only a vast, empty space. It was known simply as the unwritten lands. This blank space on his maps became an obsession for Finnian. As he grew older, it began to feel less like a challenge and more like a personal failure. His life's work felt incomplete, a beautiful frame around an empty canvas. "What is the point of a map that is not finished?" he would murmur to himself late at night, staring at the empty parchment. "My life has been spent drawing the edges of things, but I have never discovered the center. My work and my life are incomplete." The weight of what was missing became so heavy that he could no longer find joy in what was there. The beautiful, detailed lands he had spent a lifetime drawing now seemed small and insignificant compared to the vast, mocking emptiness of the unwritten lands. Finally, with a heavy heart, he decided he must retire. His work was a failure, and he could not bear to look at his incomplete maps any longer. He packed his inks and quills away, and for the first time, the great mapping table in the library stood empty. That night, as Finnian slept, he had a dream. In the dream, he was standing not in the library, but on the very edge of his own most detailed map, at the easternmost peak of the Dragon's Tooth Mountains. Before him was a vast, shimmering curtain of mist. This was the border to the unwritten lands. A gentle figure made of soft light and swirling colors, like ink in water, appeared beside him. "You feel your work is a failure because you have not charted this place," the figure said, its voice like the rustle of old parchment. "Yes," Finnian replied, his dream self full of the same waking sorrow. "A mapmaker who cannot finish the map is no mapmaker at all."